I feel like that's wrong.
Thirsty.
So
I
I think
he can't
everybody
like,
will
he
probably
can't
agree.
like. I don't care if it's a picture of the dog on the page. Nobody
You go
better
through
like
though, like
me.
I feel like you should look at it like I deserve this. Yes, this is my money.
Welcome back to the Melanated Opinion. I'm Shanita.
Hey y'all, I'm Takara.
What up, peoples? I'm Crystal.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Melissa. And today we have another interesting topic for you. We're going to talk all about parenting, the ins and outs, some do's, don'ts that you prefer, some tips or tricks, just parenting in general. So, ladies, what do y'all think?
I guess to start off, we can start off with whoopings. I personally, I kind of dislike whoopings. I kind of think it stems from slavery a little bit because it's kind of like, I just wouldn't want my child. I wouldn't want to have to say, stop doing that or you're going to get a whooping. You get what I'm saying? I just wouldn't. I don't personally agree with that one. What do y'all think?
So what do you suggest then? So like that's a technique people use to get their kids to stop. So like, do you have an example of what you would say to get your kids to stop?
Example. Well, for one, I can't use specifically an example, but I would say I feel strongly about gentle parenting, and that's something that I will 100% definitely do. And if y'all don't know what gentle parenting is, it's kind of like getting on the same level with your child, like actually face to face when you're talking to them and explain to them why it's not right, what they're doing wrong, and make sure that they completely understand it so they won't do it again rather than yelling at them, because you don't like being yelled at, so don't yell at little kids.
That's a good point.
A quick story about that. I was laughing because I tried that with you. So I bent down, I kneeled down to talk to you, and then you gonna kneel down too. I'm like, why are you kneeling? I was like, okay, forget all this. I'm not doing it anymore.
But how old was she?
She had to be about like 5. I was like, why are you kneeling?
Oh my goodness.
So I would say for me, I would say I start off trying to gentle parent, but it doesn't always end up that way because I do explain things to my daughter, when something is going wrong or, I feel like a better choice could be made. And it seems that she fully understands in that moment. And she's like, yes, mommy. Okay, I won't do that. 2 minutes later, she's literally doing the same exact thing that we talked about. And that's when I've become a little less gentle. So.
Right. I think it's one of those things that's easier said than done. So like for me, I don't have a young child. So in my mind, I'm like, well, no, I wouldn't do whoopings now that I know think differently. And one of my thoughts is that like other cultures don't do spankings or whoopings as much as the Black community does. And all those adults turned out to be okay. They are now coworkers. So okay-ish. As a whole-ish. So it's kind of like, well, if they can do it and turn out kind of okay, like there is something to it. Like, is it really necessary to pop or spank your kids? Like, and I kind of agree with Melissa, like while we putting our hand on kids, like it's setting up a whole lot of things with the kids that we don't want to set up in my mind. But like Takara was saying, as time goes on, day after day after day, that kind of gets old. So I don't know if I would still continue it. So I see both sides of that.
Right.
Me,
so I'm sorry. Ahead. What were you going to go ahead, Shanita?
Oh, well, I was just going to say for me, I feel like I was gentle parent because growing up for me, I feel like I got a whooping every day. My mom may disagree, but I do. And I don't feel like it was that effective. Like sometimes you kind of get immune to getting a whooping. And it really, like, to me, if you talk to me and give me an understanding, like she liked to talk and whoop at the same time. But I'm not listening to you. I'm in pain. So for me, I feel like I would talk to my kids. Like with my nieces and nephews, I'm able to talk to them in a firm tone, not yelling or anything, and they'll know that I'm serious. Now, sometimes they still will try you, but you might have other options, like just take something away that they really, really love versus just whooping. So I probably would do gentle parenting.
So yeah, again, I do agree with what you're saying. Because at times because I think right now I'm the only one who has a young one. But her favorite thing is the iPad and the TV. And so, I say, hey, if you don't stop, then you're going to lose time on the iPad, or you're going to lose it altogether. And that will help. But again, there are days when it seems like the talking to and the taking away of things, it doesn't bring about results.
Well,
So do you think you see the results with the whoopings?
I guess if I'm being 100% honest, I think I get a result in the moment, but I don't know like what it's really doing long term, actually, when I think about it.
To me, I kind of feel like you kind of got to treat it like a test. Like you go over it with them. You already done said what you said. Make sure they understand, repeat it back. Mm-hmm. And then you ask them, say, why should you not touch that? And make sure that she know it. You know what I'm saying? They know what you're saying. So it's kind of instilled in their brain at that point, instead of just telling them once, because they're going to forget. They just be doing, kids just be doing all kinds of stuff.
All
so
kind of
they
stuff.
Forget.
And I remember this I used to work for the YWCA. I guess most places have that, but in their childcare program. And one of the things that they taught us was, don't tell the kid to just stop. Tell them what you actually want them to do, in place of saying, don't do this, don't run. Say, I need you to please walk. So I do try, like I said, a combination of things. So, some days the talking is good, and that's enough.
And I also wanted to go back into the gentle parenting thing. Y'all already know I be on TikTok, so I'm finna. Mm-hmm. I saw a video on TikTok, and it was this woman. She had a daughter, and I believe it was her husband or boyfriend. I'm honestly not sure. But the little baby was playing with her purse, and she was like, "Can you go put my purse down? Can you please go put my purse down?" And it's kind of like nobody's gonna, what I'm saying? The baby wasn't studying her any mind. And the husband was like, or the boyfriend, whatever he was like, yell at her and watch what she do. And she yelled, and the baby ran with fear. And it's kind of like, that's not what gentle parenting is. And she was like, this is what happens when y'all gentle parent. And I feel like where she was messing up at, gentle parenting is not talking in a soft voice and saying please. That's not what it is. It's actually getting them to understand why it's right or wrong, or what you don't want them and you do want them to be doing.
So what do you do if you do, like Takara said, she would even take the laptop and she still would, do it. But I guess what I'm thinking about, I don't know, did y'all ever watch Finding Nemo? And you remember when he go out there and his dad is like, no, don't you go out there. And he's like looking you dead in his face and still touch the boat. Like, I have seen kids like
it's almost like a dare. Like,
yes.
That's what I feel like. That's how I'm
like,
taking
what did you do?
To me, I would go to the complete extreme. I know it's kind of bad and you shouldn't tell a child this, but I will go to the extreme and say, if you touch that boat, you may not see mommy or daddy anymore. And then you may be in heaven. I'm telling you, sometimes you have to go to the extreme for them to get it. Otherwise,
kids will still do it. That's what Shanita's telling you. Yeah. You can tell a kid that and they will still do it just to see if it's true.
I mean, I think every child is different. Mm-hmm. And I feel you got to try different things. You got to see what works out for you and your child. So it's like everything isn't going to work, but you have to find out what does work in order to not result to whooping.
And I think you want to be careful with that, because I feel like that's how a lot of moms and dads told their kids when they were younger, things like, if you kiss a boy, you're going to get pregnant. That's one of those things that's just screaming. I don't think it was good to tell them that. So I feel like try to be as honest as possible with your kids. Like, don't just make up stuff to try to fear them. Like, you might as well spank them if you're trying to get fear into them. Like, I personally don't think that's a good idea.
And I agree, because sometimes, especially in my line of work, we have came across where a child is trying to explain what happened to them, but because their parent has told them different words or different terminologies. Prime example, if someone touched a child, they have taught the child that, their area is called a pocketbook. So you telling the teacher, oh, someone touched my pocketbook, they may be thinking you're talking about a purse. So instead, actually make sure they know the real, the truth, what these things are, or what, can cause, or what can happen if something, you do whatever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think saying the actual names will 100% help with understanding everything. Like you just said, it's easy to get confused when the kids are talking and they're talking about the same thing, but they may be thinking they're talking about something different, and it's like they can get miseducated. So it's kind of, I think that's really good to start saying the actual, what's it called, words for what it is.
Okay, I have a question. So this is personal for me, so I want to get y'all opinion on it. Takar and Shanita, I already know Melissa's. Do you think it's in a kid's nature to lie? Like, based on you as a kid, and then think about like the kids you're around or your child. Do you think it's in a kid's nature to lie?
I think it depends on the kid.
Me too.
I don't know. Well, I guess it would depend, because most kids gonna tell the truth, because they don't know like some things you shouldn't say, so they're more verbal. But I think when it comes to, if they know they're doing something that they are not supposed to, they're not gonna want to get in trouble. But I think on the average, a kid is gonna tell the truth, because my nieces and nephews, like, I didn't even realize they was paying attention, but they was like, well, she said we can spend the night, and it's like they're gonna hold you to it. They're gonna call you and find out, okay, when can we come? What day? How long we can stay? So they're very truthful. It just depends on what you're asking them. Unless they've been threatened.
No, the last time me and Melissa had this conversation, she said she think it's in a kid's nature to lie. Do you remember that?
Yes, and I think it's in their nature to lie when they're trying to get out of trouble, like little kids. Little kids do that, but I'm talking about like probably like 7, 10, 13, when they start to get a little older like that. I don't think they, like, to me, I don't remember like oh, let me lie. I don't remember
being a liar either. I really don't.
Shanita, what's the face from?
Trouble all the time. What are you saying?
Huh?
I mean, if I knew it was gonna cause me to get in trouble, I just omitted some of the truth.
That's what I'm saying. Honestly, I really don't remember doing that. So that may be why I think like that, because I don't know. I really don't remember lying like that, to be honest.
Crystal, what do you think?
I mean, for me, I go off of my experience, and I feel like for me, it's not in my nature to just lie. For me, it's hard for me to lie. Like, I have to plan a lie. Some people, the lie can just come to them like quick, and it sounds so believable. But I have to plan it ahead of time if I'm gonna lie. So it's like, yeah. But then
too much work.
Lie. Oh, I guess like I'm gonna say this.
No, I'm gonna say, well, I know I am going, to my parents' house, and I don't want to tell them what I did last night when they called me on the phone. So I have to think ahead of time, what am I gonna say? Like if they ask me, if they say, oh, I called you last night, what am I gonna say?
So what are you gonna say if they ask you a question that you didn't plan for? Like, you have to be on it.
No, you find a way not to answer. So you may have to like repeat their question or repeat what you said earlier and change
That's
the
hard
words
for me.
Yeah, no, as an adult, I don't I can't stand a liar, so ooh.
Yeah, no, like adults that lie.
Example. I'm not saying I do that. That was just an example.
So I have a question. So how do y'all feel? Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna explain it. So say for instance, your child is in school and the teacher, call and say your child's doing yada yada yada. Your child come back home and say, I wasn't, or there was several other people talking and it was very unfair for me to be the only one that got in trouble. What do y'all do in that instance? Do y'all believe your child? Do y'all go talk to the teacher? Do y'all have a meeting and everybody gonna talk? Like what do y'all do?
I would say talk to both of them. I got a story. Because that happened to me. Like, I was in the cafeteria and it was 4 of us. And so we were leaning, I don't know, it was like we was against the wall. So we was kind of like leaning back on the wall. A teacher came and the teacher said, hey, y'all don't need to be doing that. Can you stop? We stopped. All of a sudden, we got called into the principal office. And at that time, you can get spankings at school. And of course, my mama signed for me to get a spanking. And so, like, the principal didn't even ask us. And I'm sitting here crying. I'm telling him, look, when she told us to stop, we stopped. And he was just like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't have been doing it. I got a spanking. So, of course, I got another whooping when I got home because I got in trouble at school. But I'm like, I was telling the truth. Like, I really did stop. Like, we didn't think nothing of it. So I feel like if she would have asked and really took time to see, okay, well, maybe she's telling the truth. And then, especially if I don't get in trouble at school, I think talking should.
Go ahead, Melissa.
I mean, I would say, okay, so I guess when I was in school, I feel like my mom did not believe me half the time when I told her when I went to, let me tell y'all what happened. Every time the teacher called, I really was not doing nothing. Like, I really wasn't. So it was just like, what do I get in trouble for? Because like, I really wasn't doing anything. And so I guess when I started to get older, I could tell which teacher didn't like me, which teacher liked me. Do you get what I'm saying? You know when someone doesn't like you. And like I actually saw like the teachers intentionally getting certain kids in trouble, especially around breaks on purpose. Like they would intentionally call your parents, make sure you get in trouble around that time. So you got in trouble at home. And I kind of like, that's unfair. And I don't think my mama actually thought they did that. But like we saw it. We went to class with them every day. Like we saw it happen firsthand.
Okay, my side of the story is I got regular phone calls from the school.
I don't remember
talking, and out of all the phone calls from kindergarten to 12th grade, this was she ever talking. She never said she got in trouble. She never said she actually did it. So how am I supposed to believe you if every single time you're not doing it? Every single time.
And it's a different teacher every. Yes. It's not like the same teacher over and over. It's different teachers at different levels.
Yes, and that's my side of the story.
What you say, Melissa?
Say is, I wish I was this Melissa back then because I would have for sure been in trouble. Okay, because you want to lie on me, I'm gonna turn it up in this class. Just know that. So I just really wish I could go back and do some things, because if I was gonna get in trouble, I was gonna get in trouble for a reason. Just say that.
But in Melissa's defense, sometimes you do have teachers that they kind of get together and say, "Oh, this child's gonna be talking," or "This child
make them a problem child."
And sometimes it don't be. Now I don't know if that was your case, but I know it does happen.
No, I agree. I think it happens too, and I think that there were times that she didn't get in trouble. But for me, it's just that I didn't have a way to tell when was the times the teachers were being malicious and when were the times it was true. Like I didn't have a way to figure that out. So I got to go on what I have saw, which is that you've never admitted it ever.
Right, but like I feel like I was never given the opportunity to admit. Like you can't just believe. That's what I'm saying. Just because they're adult don't mean they truthful. You know what I'm saying? Especially some of the teachers. That's like all teachers are not good people, and I think a lot of parents think just because they're a teacher, they're adult, they do the right thing. And I don't think that's the case all the time, especially at some of the schools I went to.
But what you're not focusing on is what part should Melissa be accountable for? Like you still talking about the teachers being how they are. At no point are you saying, the kids shouldn't be talking, or there were times, or like.
I know for sure I'd have said I'll be talking in the class, but it wasn't this time. I know I'd have said that because I remember.
Yeah, you said that, but not during the times you actually got in trouble. You was said like way later when it wasn't relevant.
Mama, I literally just said every time the teacher called, I really wasn't doing that. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how they got a rage, but like majority of the time, I really don't remember doing anything. Because I remember this one time, like it was a sub or something, and the teacher called. She was like, "I'm calling your mom because I told y'all not to get in trouble." And I really didn't do nothing that time. I don't know what was wrong with that sub. That's what I'm saying. Like it's really malicious people out here. So I honestly think y'all kind of need to believe y'all kids sometimes, because I feel like that was kind of traumatic. Like to never get, nobody ever believed me. Like I got in trouble every time.
It was
so it's just kind of traumatic for me.
And you and the teacher like ever talk like Melissa, Krista and the teacher?
I think like a couple of times. I don't think it was that many times. Okay, next topic. Another one I would say is projecting. I know we kind of talked about this in a few videos already, but for instance, your parents want you to be a doctor, and it's like you don't even want to go to school to be a doctor. And it's just like you're kind of getting forced to go into a profession that you don't even want to do. So I kind of feel like you should be free. Or like, how do you say it? You should have the opportunity to choose what field you want to go in. Have y'all had experiences with projecting?
I would say that, my parents encouraged me to go to college, and encouraged me to go into something like business, something that would be around, something that they saw like was really had a good foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna use the word encouraging because that's what they thought was best for me. But just now as I'm older, I feel like I never even took the time to figure out, is this what I really wanted for me? So I don't know if I would use the word projecting. I would just say, I don't think I did what I would have chose to do if I felt like, it wasn't as strongly suggested as it was.
I don't feel like I got a lot of projection as a child, like as far as things that, of course, I feel kind of like Crystal, like they encouraged me to do certain things or said, or presented the idea to me and, kind of was like, what do you think? What do you want to do? But I also kind of knew my own mind at a very young age. And so I pretty much always knew what I wanted to do, even though that's not what I ended up doing. But I thought I knew. So, yeah. And so how I am with my daughter is that, if she mentions, a thing a couple of times, like say, for instance, she wanted to do gymnastics. I think because she saw it on YouTube or something. So, she talked about it for, a little while. And I was like, okay, so let's try that. And then she was like, yeah, nah, gymnastics, that ain't it. So then, she's like, I'm going to do Taekwondo. So, so I let her tell me what she's interested in. And then I try to facilitate that in some way for her.
Yeah, and I think I just kind of threw Melissa into some of everything. I didn't really ask her. I just put her in it, but I put her in like almost everything that was available and that I could afford at whatever time, so that she could try and figure out what she liked and what she don't like.
And I really don't remember not liking anything. I really can't remember. Like I just remember playing the sports or whatever. And I honestly wish I would have kind of push myself to do some of them seriously throughout my school, because I feel like I probably would have still been playing now, but you live and you learn.
Right. And that's the thing, you don't ever want to, well, for me, I just because I've said, hey, she said I want to try this, well, when she says she doesn't want to try it anymore, I don't make her stick with it. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because at some point you do kind of need to figure out something.
Yeah, for me, I kind of wish I would have pushed Melissa a little more to help her learn discipline, to help her learn more of when things get hard, keep going, because something in you will give you extra energy or strength to work through it. And you don't find that unless you push through it. So if you try something else,
a very good point.
You're not
gonna, right? I was like, yes.
Yeah, you're not gonna get that. Yeah, and I feel like I didn't learn that until a year ago for myself. So something to think about.
So let's take it back. I have a question. So what is you guys' policy on like do you, Crystal, do you ever remember telling Melissa, like, if somebody hits her, she can hit them back as long as they hit her first?
I made that up myself. I used to call her and say, Mama, this girl, I would tell her what happened. I'm saying, Mama, if you get a call, it's from the school, it's because I done fought this girl. Because I just used to call her whatever, just so she would know, you know. But I feel like when I was younger, I was told, you know, do the right thing, tell the teacher.
Tell the teacher.
I'm telling you, if I could go
Never
back.
hit. Never.
Oh.
Find out kind of kids.
So I have a story. So last year, and again, my child is young. She goes to, she's in preschool. But there was a girl who actually was her friend. But she would always come home and she would say, you know, Mom, this little girl hit me. And I would say, okay, tell the teacher. So a few times after that happened, and I would say, you know, Carrington, what happened when you told the teacher? Well, she would give me some kind of answer like, oh, well, she, you know, the teacher said, don't do that, don't do that. But it wasn't doing nothing. So I was like, Carrington, this is what you do. You, if she hits you, you hit her back. And then when the teacher says something to you, say, call my mom. That's it. Don't say anything else. Just say, call my mom. And that's exactly what she did. And when the school called me, the teacher called me, she said, well, Carrington hit somebody. I said, did she hit them first, or was she defending herself? Because she absolutely has a right to defend herself. She said, yeah, well, she did hit them. And she said, call her mom. I said, that's exactly what I told her to do.
So did they not call for the other little girl?
So the mom then had a complaint because her child actually got hit back, but she was the bully. So you can tell the mom to call me too.
So did the problem stop?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the advice. That's what we should tell our kids. I was never raised to do that. That was never an option. But I feel like,
well, again, it's not the first option, right? But at some point, you do have to defend yourself.
I don't know. I kind of feel like it should be the first option, because if what the teacher is telling your daughter, you know, something that basically equals, it'll be okay, go sit down somewhere. Like, she needs to learn to stand up for herself from jump, like from the beginning. And that doesn't mean, you know, she should hit her 5 times because she hit her once. That just means I'm gonna let you know to stop messing with me.
Exactly.
I don't know where kids be getting that from. They're hitting. I'm telling you, I don't know where they.
Well, I guess they get it. I don't, you know. So, but that's the other thing. I guess when you know, whoop your kid, does that tell them, like, when somebody does something that you don't agree with, you have the right to hit them?
I think so, because think about how many kids, like, you know, you will see them raise their hand at their parent when their parent hit them.
Ooh, I think that's that gentle parenting, because like the Connors and, you know, like from Roseanne, where the kids, did y'all ever watch Roseanne?
I did.
Where the kids be like talking extra crazy to the parent. Mm-hmm. I'm just being funny, but still.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think that happens with, I'm just gonna say, I don't think that happens with Black people. I've never seen that happen with Black people.
Right.
What, with the kid hitting? Oh yeah, it happens. It happens more so now than not. And I think what happens is it's a lot of younger parents and they think it's funny. And, you know, so when they're trying to be serious and the child is like, don't do that, you know, but then they laughing or they got to pull out their camera to show someone, oh, look what my child did. So I have seen it. It happens.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's not gonna be cute, you know, as they get older and those licks get harder and you get embarrassed.
Yep.
One more thing. Okay, so how do y'all feel about, okay, so, well, I guess Mr. Carter, she the only one that got a young child. So when Carrington gets older, like if she fails the class or gets like a C or a D, do you say like what would you do in that moment? Do you say you can do better, or does she get in trouble? No phone? Like, what would you do?
I mean, I don't, so I guess you say when she gets older, because we work on these things. Like she gets homework now, and so we do it together, you know. So I guess maybe at the point where I'm no longer like helping her every day with her homework, it may come as a shock to me if she came home with a poor grade. I don't know, because I don't know. I feel like, yes, I would always try to be encouraging. And I also don't feel like it's 100% the school's responsibility to like make sure she knows everything that she needs to know. You know, it's also my job to like be aware of what she's working on and pay attention to how she's picking up on things so that I can kind of fill in the gap. So I feel like if she were just like not doing well, maybe there's a problem.
And I think that it kind of depends on the child too, because some kids it just come naturally. Like, you know, they're just good in school. Other people you can study and really, really hard and still make a C, but that's the best that, you know, that child can do.
Mhm.
So I think if you know your child, you know your child is capable of, you know, doing better, then you can probably talk to them. But I mean, as long as it's not no D or F, you know, and I know you tried your hardest, then we'll just talk to you. I think about getting a tutor or something like that.
And I
I
think
don't feel like you
where
should.
I think what the difference, what you're saying more of is that if the kid is trying and getting that grade, like they're studying every single day and they're staying after school and they're still getting like a C or D, that's different, you know, than a kid not studying and getting a C and D and like, you know, that's their grade. I think those are two different things in two different situations for me.
Well, I mean, I don't know, because for one, I disagree with studying, because it's like I go to school 8 hours a day. Why am I coming home for hours and still? That's why I really never did it, because I don't want to do that. I was already at school for 8 hours. There's no reason you wasn't able to teach me what I needed in those 8 hours of my day, or that hour I was in your class every day, and I still had to come home. No, like,
So
who
for
wants to do that?
we gotta think about it. For me, it depends. Like if you're boring, I kind of tune you out. So I needed to go home and study because I wasn't paying attention in class.
So, and that's the other thing, like in class, there's usually one teacher for, you know, 10 or 15, 20 students. And so you can't, you know, like they give you the lesson, but everybody catches it at a different pace. And so some might actually need to go home and work on it a little more to get a better understanding, whereas others might not have to.
Yeah, that's true. I was just talking about myself. Like, I just didn't want to do it because, like I said, I just was at school for 8 hours.
Are you not studying? Did you get the grades?
Like Mr. Carter just said, some stuff I was real good at. You know, I caught it right then and there. And obviously some stuff I needed tutoring in. But I guess for me, when I got like a bad grade or something, I know I did every assignment and I know I thought I knew this. And, you know, sometimes the test is just kind of, this is not what we learned. You know, sometimes the test is like that. And so honestly, when I got in trouble sometimes, I was like, you know, I tried my best. I went to tutoring and, you know, it's just not clicking. And I think that's okay, you know, because I feel like a lot of kids do get in trouble when they don't make, you know, A's and B's. But I honestly think it's okay if they don't, because like y'all just said, everybody's not going to get everything like that. Some people have to extra study. So.
Right. And then don't like just punish your child. Your child might have some type of medical condition or something that's causing like dyslexia or something. Like you just never know why that child is not performing. Like, you know, try to exhaust all options before you just sit there and assume they're just not, you know, applying themselves.
But like I said, I also feel like you can't just be like, oh, well, they know what they're doing. They're over there in the corner, and never check in with them. You have to be present. You know what I mean? And so you should be kind of catching some of these things. You know, if you actually are there with your child some of the time and they're working through these things and you see that they're struggling but trying, you should be able to see some of that if you're present with your kid. Guys, because this is Black History Month, we wanted to highlight some influential people who don't get talked about too often. So who we are going to talk about today, her name is Claudette Colvan. She was born in 1939. And so what happened with her, she actually, before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, she was a brave 15-year-old who chose not to sit at the back of the bus. That young girl was Coven. So she understood her constitutional rights to remain seated near the middle of the vehicle. Coven challenged the driver and was subsequently arrested. She was the first woman to be detained for her resistance. However, her story isn't nearly as well known as Miss Rosa Parks. So that's our highlight. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I wonder why wasn't she ever like mentioned?
I think it's because they have certain agendas for certain people. Because if you can see some of the big people that we learned about in school, they wasn't that great. Not saying Rosa Parks wasn't, but I'm talking about some of the other big ones that we learned about. They did some questionable things that they don't talk about. So I honestly think it's an agenda.
Oh, well, nevertheless, we appreciate Miss Claudette.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank
you.
Okay, and next we're going to go to our letter for the week. And I have one. Seems to be kind of long, but here we go. Dear Melanated Opinion, I want to teach my kids about credit and credit scores since no one taught me about it when I was younger. I've learned the value of it and I feel so behind because of all the things I didn't know. Did your parents teach you about credit growing up? Also, what do you do to help your kids?
I'll go first. Honestly, Mom, did you tell me about credit? I know you told me some things, but I don't remember, like, a lot. Did you? Oh, well, I guess you did.
Yes.
I guess, like, when I was younger, for me, I kind of heard, don't get a credit card because you're not going to manage it well. I heard that a lot more than I heard anything else. But me, when I was younger, when I turned 18, I wish I would have gotten a credit card so I can, instead of just paying with my money that I've earned, I can go ahead and put it on the credit card, earn all the perks, and I get a lot of free things accumulated. And plus, my credit score will be going up by the time it's time for me to get a car, buy a house, do all of those things. Everything will have already been perfect, great, whatever.
So the minute I turned 18, me and my very good friend, she and I went to the mall and we got all of the cards, all of them. And we maxed them all out.
Did y'all really?
Yes, we did. We really did.
So you had like a lot of stuff. Did your mom say, where did this stuff come from?
Well, I worked at the time, and I don't think I just came in with like bags on bags on bags. I wasn't stupid like that. But so the difference is that her mom was very like into credit and all of that stuff, and she made her get that stuff straight like right away. Whereas my mom, she, credit wasn't a thing to her. Like my grandma would always say, oh, you want to make sure you have good credit. And that's all she would ever say. And so, starting out young as a, teenager, and then when I got into college, I would get these phones and not pay the bill, just doing all kind of crap. And so it took me until I was like in my 20s to really be like, oh, I really did not, I shouldn't have done any of those things. And so for Carrington, she actually very naturally, she's a saver, and she will be like, oh, can you buy this? And then when we get home, she'll be like, I need to save my money. I can't pay you back. So, like she's good about saving her money. Like anytime she gets money, she goes and puts it straight in her thing that sucks up her money. And she really doesn't think about it anymore. You know? So, I mean, she's not at the point where we talk about credit, but she likes to save. So,
Yeah, I think for me, my experience was kind of similar to Melissa's experience. Like I was told about credit and I was told don't get a credit card. And really listening to a lot of people when I got to college, probably like when around my junior and senior year, I heard a lot of people my age saying they had all these credit cards and they had like maxed them out and all this. And so I learned why it wasn't a good idea to get credit cards. So I never got one until I was like way older. So I understand why my dad was always like, don't get a credit card when you're younger. Now, a lot of things that Melissa was saying, she was not taught, like about like earning points and earning miles and all that. I don't think, I know I wasn't aware of that. I didn't become aware of that until recently. I know my dad wasn't aware of that. I feel like, the Black community, we're just getting to the point where we are no longer in survival mode. We can have a savings account, and now I have a savings account and have a little extra money. We're just not getting to the point where it's like, oh, this how you build wealth? This how you get free money? So it's like, it's almost kind of like we're behind on some things. So it's like you teach your kids what you know.
mm-hmm.
And even if you don't know it now, to the lady that was it a lady that wrote the letter?
It didn't say.
Or just the person that wrote the letter. Like even if you don't know and you kind of like us maybe wasn't that familiar with it growing up, you always have YouTube now. They have plenty of like videos. You have so many people that do free seminars. So it's like the material is out there. You just kind of have to research and listen to them, see what works better for you, and just teach them from there.
And I will also say, adding your child as an authorized redeemer, if you have good credit, will that would do your child justice. Like, it'll boost their credit like that. And I'm very thankful my mom did that. Okay. I kind of needed
don't
it.
Give them the card.
No, see, I don't have the card. Mom keeps it.
Yes, you do.
Oh, I do have the card now.
No,
I just got
good. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you don't have it. Just pretend like you don't have it.
See, I don't have it. See, like I said, I was going good without it. I was going good without, and I have my own now. So it's kind of like, that's just, for emergencies or whatever. But adding your child to authorized redeemer, I feel like a lot of people didn't know about that. So it's like, that could boost their credit and help them in the long run.
Yeah, I just learned about that or heard about that like maybe 2 years ago. My brother was telling me that, that people were doing that. They were getting added onto people who had older people who have had their Visa or their, American Express cards for 20 years. That's like instant, at addition to your credit score.
Oh, and I was also going to say, I think a lot of people don't know this as well, and I kind of learned this more recently than, earlier. Have you ever heard the term, the rich don't own anything, but they have everything?
Mm-mm.
So basically, they have business credit, and they put that, they put everything in their business credit. So it's kind of like, if they get messed up, their credit is Gucci. If you did PG, you're good. And it's kind of like, did nobody tell me that either? I don't think a lot of the Black community doesn't know that information.
I don't think it's hidden. I think we just were not aware. Again, these are things that, other cultures tend to, know and teach their kids fairly, early on. But I just learned, that was the first time I heard that, is that, the rich stay rich by not putting stuff in their actual name. And that makes sense too.
It does. It was like, oh yeah. I think like once you obtain the information and like you actually start putting your knowledge like, to work, it will help you out in the long run. I feel like it could be very beneficial if you actually look into it. So I really would suggest looking into doing that, getting some business credit, getting business credit cards to earn the perks, and it get like save you in the long run just in case anything happens. Does anyone have anything else to add? Okay, if not, we talked about a lot today. We touched on parenting, credit cards. Miss Claudette Colvin, did I say your name? Miss Claudette, thank you so much. We touched on a lot of things today, a lot of interesting topics, a lot of different point of views. So hopefully you obtained something from that, some knowledge from that. If you want to send us a letter, please email us at themelanated@gmail.com. You can also follow our socials on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Melanated LP. We do go live on Facebook Thursdays at 7, so stay tuned for those. And thank you so much for watching.